Hey, gun people, or G people, G peeps. Don't want to get banned for using the G word. Hey, I'll do a crazy cop story. I mean, there's been a couple incidents. I kind of remember one in particular, but since I did that video the other day where that dude came out with a gun, and the cop kind of went in that panic attack, which is I thought was a great training video. It's early Sunday morning here. It rained last night. It's nice and cool. It finally cooled down. It's like in the 60s. I love it. My pond is finally getting a little water, but it's pretty low. I can't even see the water anymore. So I can use the rain. But anyway, I will, the horses are over there. They already had their breakfast. Threw the little donkey a little hay too across the fence. He's eating his. So let's talk about, in this nice cool morning, I'll do a crazy cop story. So, and I gotta be careful about picking on bald guys, because I went and got my ears lowered. That's a military term to go get a haircut. You need to get your ears lowered. For you guys that were never in there, that's what they would say. So man, each time I go, it's less and less. I can't be cracking on the bald cops anymore. So anyway, and I want to really get out and thank everybody for helping me out. I'm getting a lot of information on those cyber bullies and those stalkers. So all that great help and all the great research that everybody's doing. I mean, taking pictures and angling and finding things. I mean, it's amazing. There's some really great investigators out there. I mean, I think this is a money opportunity to somebody to start a website that gives people who are being attacked and bullied by people who are anonymous to out them and to put up pages about people when they're exposed for continuous, etc. But you know, again, there's always this yin and yang on those things. Who's going to run it? Are they going to use it to extort? Are they going to be mean? Or, you know, there's always this balance of power and how much it corrupts and who's in charge and who uses the power. And now I'm going to tell you a crazy cop story, and you're going to be like, well, you abused your power. Well, look. So in that video that, I forgot what I called it. I think it's cop has a panic attack or something. You notice the cop, when he ran off and he came back, he positioned himself between the bad guy, the suspect that was on the ground, and the two EMTs. And I know I said he was using them as cover, but I mean, I don't know if that was an Overwatch situation. Could he have been in front of them to protect them? Yeah, that would have probably been better. But regardless, when things go bad and shit hits the fan quickly out there as a cop, man, sometimes you just react and you do things. And I know in one of my crazy cop stories, I was working with another cop from another agency, and we stopped these gangbangers, and one of them went for a gun, and he was fighting with him, and they were going for the gun, and I stuck my gun in his throat, and I said, dude, if you reach again, I'm going to blow your head off. Something like that. And my partner later was like, dude, I can't believe you did that. He goes, man, my agent, you know, there's this, and he was a younger officer, but there was this, and I've said this before, older experienced officers can do things differently and justify it where a younger officer cannot because of their experience. So, in this one situation, there was a couple situations like that. I can't remember how many times I did it, but this one little visual, I remember, I think we were in Rio Linda or some shithole in Sacramento. We're doing some sort of warrant, we're going after them, and the house ends up being what's called, we call a flop house. And what a flop house is either parents have just abandoned it and given it to their druggy kids, and their kids are just letting all the other druggies live there. So in every room, there's 5 sleeping bags, there's 40 people living in this house, well, not 40, you know, 15, 20 people. I mean, just lots of people in every room. Nobody knows anybody. They're all on drugs. They're all sharing drugs. I mean, it's just a total shithole house. And we call them flop houses. So if we did a warrant on a flop house, we knew that we would have multiple suspects, a lot of people running. And I can't remember what we were doing on this, but one dude made it out the front door and tried to run and get away, and I ended up grabbing him, tackling him, and I was on the ground kind of wrestling with him. The other cops were going in, entries, yelling, you know, you hear in the background, get on the ground, show me your hands, police, you know, so you're hearing all this in the background, the radio's going off. Sometimes before we did these high-risk warrants with multiple people and a lot of agencies, we would ask them to clear the air. If we had a primary channel, we'd say, we're about to make a high-risk entry, can you clear the air until we go code 4? Code 4 means we're okay. So then on top of all the yelling, you've got your radio with your alert tone going off. Beep, beep. So anybody else knows that's on the road, don't talk, there's an emergency in progress or there's a high-risk incident in progress. Leave the radio clear so these guys have priority if the shit goes bad. So you got all this going on. So anyway, we're at this shithole. People are scattered out everywhere, running. I end up tackling this one dude. I'm wrestling him. I get him on the ground. I'm just about getting him cuffed, and some dude walks out the front, and he's holding a gun. And a couple other agencies, because we had people enter, either the front door was locked, so there was a couple people watching the front, and they had to make entry in the back, or when they were going around back, because before we enter a house, you have to set up, we usually set up 360, we get all the corners covered in case anybody runs so we can catch the runners, and we look and see if we see some guy running by the window with a rifle or a gun or something, he can put out, hey, they're arming themselves, they're moving, they know we're here, if one of them spots the camera. So, but when you're getting around the house, there's a small time frame that you can either get picked up and you lose the element of surprise and you give them time to plan for your entry, which makes the entry a little more dangerous. So I think somehow they were at the back and they couldn't get in the front, and they said we got the back door open, or somebody walked out the back door. So as soon as they walked out and saw him, it was like, oh shit, there goes the plan. So we got to snag him, grab him, throw him on the ground, and then he's going to yell, cops! And then everybody inside starts like cockroaches when you turn a light on. So anyway, I'm wrestling with this guy, and there's cops everywhere wrestling with different people, but this guy comes out and somebody yells gun, or he yells, what the fuck's going to something? And he's got a gun in his hand, and I tell you what, I grabbed this dude on the ground, and I don't know if a cop did this today on video, they'd probably have a cow, because it would be abuse and you can't do that. But it was just instinctive. I got some knucklehead running out. I don't know what he's got, drugs, I'm on the ground, I'm in a vulnerable position, a dude's at the front door with a gun. I just immediately grabbed this dude, threw him in front of me, and put my gun over his shoulder and started yelling at this dude, drop the gun, drop the gun! And so this dude's like, dude, let me down! And he's fighting me, trying to get out of the way. I got my gun right next to his ear. If there had been a shooting, I was using him as cover. Is that, I mean, somebody's gonna say that's unethical and you should never do that and that's against the law. Look, when you don't understand until you've been in those situations. It's just instinctive to protect yourself and to get yourself in a position that you have to stay in the fight. And if I go down, I can't help anybody else and I can't help myself. And now somebody's going to say, well, what about that poor guy that ran out? Maybe he only had a misdemeanor warrant. Maybe he was just visiting someone. He was an innocent bystander at this trashy house that smelled like the dump, with, 15, 20, 30 people running around doing drugs. Yeah, maybe he was an innocent guy. He was a guy riding a bicycle in a white shirt asking them if they found God. Yeah, that's who he was. He wasn't that guy. He was out there running dressed like crap, putting on his pants, trying to get away. So anyway, I had the guy between me, and I've seen this before, and I think I've done it I just don't remember specifically. But you know what? If I've got a bad guy and there's bad guys in a car and they're reaching around, I'm going to use them as cover while I retreat. I'm not going to protect. And I know the law says that once you put somebody in custody, you have to protect them. And if I'm arresting, if I got nothing else better to do than run around and stop and give traffic tickets, and I've got mom in a car and I'm giving her a traffic ticket for not wearing her seatbelt or some crap, and then a shooting goes down and I yank her out of the car and use her as protection, then I'm with you. That's totally blocked. But if I'm making an arrest on a known drug house with felons and people who've got guns and we've got multiple arrests and we've been compromised and we're in protection mode, and a dude comes out with a gun, I'm using a suspect. And I mean, that's just how I see it. If people want to say that that's cruel and mean, I mean, and again, I haven't seen that on a video yet. And if there's a video out there where a cop does that, I mean, I don't really have a huge problem with it. Somebody may go, it's wrong and unethical, but look, I can't protect you if I go down, if you got handcuffs and he wants to kill you. I mean, I've arrested people where people wanted to beat them up. They were raped and it was in a community, and then they caught him and they cornered him. And I can't remember the rape case. There was one in Sacramento for sure. I can't remember if there was one in Yolo, but in Sacramento, this dude was all over the paper. He had raped a couple young girls, etc., and the community caught him. And they were beating his ass, and we had to go in there and kind of pull him out of his crowd. Well, you know, I mean, I can only protect you so much. So in order to get you out, I may have to manhandle you or grab you or be aggressive or use you to deflect somebody or push you into somebody to get them off so I can drag you out of a crowd. It's very easy to misinterpret that. So when I was watching that video and I saw that guy use the EMTs, and I cracked on him, go, dude, why are you using them for cover? Because in his mind, it was just kind of like, I don't know what he was thinking or what was going through his mind, but I know what was going through my mind. This dude's got a gun on the porch. We got people everywhere. I got no cover. I'm a sitting duck in the middle of the front yard fighting with this knucklehead. I'm putting him between me and him, and I've got my gun out, and I'm going to use him as cover. And if he'd have shot him, I'd have shot him. But, you know, and maybe I would have had to answer. Maybe they would have said, dude, you used him as cover. You got him killed. He was in your custody. You know what? You deal with that later. You can't always make perfect decisions and, you know, chaos. So that's just a little crazy cop story. I know I got some guys asking. I've got on my gun channel, I don't have any crazy cop stories going around, but because I've got them all private right now because the stalkers and the whiners. But boys are out there like, why's Dad yelling? Who's he yelling at over there? Hi, boys. All right. Well, that's my crazy cop story. We'll end that there.